How does a Sharia test work? In the wake of the truck-borne terrorism in France, it's hard to even know what to say. But I know what not to say, unless I'm trying to appeal to a Fox audience and possibly throwing one last Hail Mary as a way to bomb your way onto the presidential ticket. In other words, if I were Newt Gingrich.
Western civilization is in a war. We should, frankly, test every person from here who is of a Muslim background, and if they believe in Sharia, they should be deported.
What a great plan. It's gotta work. I mean, let's take the Orlando shooter. It's a nut job, it's a wife beater, possibly gay, even more possibly crazy, pledged allegiance to both Hamas and Hezbollah, which is like throwing your lot in with both cobras and mongoose at the same time. A Sharia test for this guy. This guy seemed to know as much about Sharia as he does Norwegian fishery regulation. Yeah, a Sharia test would have stopped him. And how would a Sharia test go? Do you believe in Sharia? Well, if I deny the tenets of my faith, I'm a bad Muslim. So, yes, to some extent, I believe in Sharia. All right, you're out. Next guy. Do you believe in Sharia? Well, I am an ISIS adherent, and it's important not to give away my position. And I saw what happened to the last guy. No, don't believe in Sharia. How does a Sharia test work? Is it yes, no? Is it honor code? Or is it a real test like the SATs? Under the Hawala system, Youssef wants to borrow money from Khalid at 1% interest a day to buy pork and beans for eating while the sun is up. If he borrows 100 dinars and does not repay Khalid for the entire month of Ramadan, how much will he owe? It's the perfect question, because if they refuse to answer because of the multiple violations of Sharia law, we know they know Sharia law. They're out. But if they do answer and get it right, they obviously know what Hawala is. They know how long Ramadan is. So they're obviously Sharia believers. They're out. But if they get it wrong, well, they got it wrong. They're out. Basically, it is a foolproof way to root out Sharia believing Muslims. And non-Sharia believing Muslims, and all Muslims, and probably a Sikh or two, depending on who's administering the test. I don't know. If I were Muslim, why wouldn't I trust Newt Gingrich to give me this test? I mean, Newt Gingrich says, this is what he said on Facebook Live today.
If you are a practicing Muslim and you believe deeply in your faith, but you're also loyal to the United States and you believe in the Constitution, you should have your rights totally, completely protected within the Constitution. You should have nothing to fear. Your children should have nothing to fear. This is not about targeting a particular religion or targeting people who practice in a particular way. This is about looking for certain characteristics that we have learned painfully, time after time, involve killing people, involve attacks on our civilization. So I want to draw a sharp distinction here.
Why don't I trust Newt Gingrich's well-thought-out plan or trust him to competently not stumble over any false positives? That would seem to obsess him and keep him up at night if he wrongly kicked a Muslim American citizen out of this country. Gingrich went on to say about a recent terrorist.
He'd already said that he really favored ISIS and the Taliban and hoped they won.
This test would not have worked with the Orlando shooter. It wouldn't have worked with the San Bernardino shooter, because once expressing pro-ISIS sentiment became against the law, guess who will stop expressing pro-ISIS sentiment? Guys in ISIS. Not illegalizing belief in Sharia law. That actually helps us. Sure, go ahead. Praise ISIS. NSA, you getting this? You getting this? I don't have the perfect solution to stopping all attacks in ISIS. We are awash in guns. And even if we weren't, we're certainly awash in trucks. You cannot stop every murderous thought from turning into a murderous deed. You just can't. But what you can do is make Muslims feel part of American society, which America has actually done really well compared to Europe. You could get Muslims to identify as Americans, to feel the opportunity of Americans, to feel like Americans. And guess what? Many of them are. They're not like Americans. They're just Americans. And the way you do that is to get the rest of America acting more like Americans and rejecting the worst ideas that happen to be un-American.